Yeah, so first off, for someone who's not seen you fight before, tell us where you train, a bit about yourself, basically.
Well, yeah, I'm just training Rumble Sports. I'm primarily a striking-based MMA fighter. We have a very good boxing coach at Rumble Sports, 2K Tranka, that you may have seen in the Cage Warriors preview. But I also worked a lot on my jiu-jitsu and wrestling in the last couple of years. Just got my purple belt in jiu-jitsu half a year ago, I think. So I feel like a pretty all-round striker, but with the specialty in the striking, all-around MMA fighter with a specialty in the striking.
And you train out of Rumble Sports, you say. It's a gym that we've heard of over in the UK. Tell us sort of the guys you train with.
Well, I train with Mats Nilsson, as some of you may know. He's competed in Cage Warriors, I think, 2 or 3 times. And he just had a fight in UFC against Luke Bernard, which he unfortunately lost. But and then I train with Damir Hadzovic, who is also fighting at Cage Warriors 66. And I train with Matthias Lodal, who is also fighting on the undercard of Cage Warriors 66. And then we have a female Swedish fighter called Pani Gjansat, that you might know as well. And then we have a really talented young guy coming up, Mads Bonell. And then we have quite a deal of amateur fighters and other pro fighters that are not necessarily active, but still training in the gym.
We spoke to Pani earlier today. We interviewed Pani earlier, and she we were talking about your fight coming up at Cage Warriors, and she said that you're arguably one of the most underrated. I think is probably the not the right phrase, but you're certainly the best welterweight in Europe, in the UK and Europe that people perhaps don't know. Is that praise? How does that make you feel when teammates, that's how they describe you to people who perhaps don't know you as well?
Well, that's very kind of her. That's some good words. Well, I don't know. I always try to see myself in I'm very Danish in the way I think about myself, so I don't really think highly of myself. I don't go out and say, oh, I'm the best and stuff like that, but coming from her, that means a lot. So that must mean something.
I mean, you say you're very Danish, and I asked you this on the email. What do you think it is about sort of Scandinavian and the Nordic area as a whole that makes it such sort of a hotbed for MMA at the moment?
Well, I think it's because traditional martial arts like judo, karate, taekwondo, stuff like that has always been popular in Scandinavian countries. And then it's just taken a while for the competitors in those sports to switch over to MMA because, it's like take a country like Denmark, for example. We have 5 million people living here. So it's not like we have a huge base of people that do martial arts to begin with. So it takes a while for it to develop. Of course, Sweden is bigger, and we can also see they have bigger name fighters at the moment because it's a bigger country, they have bigger talent pool to draw from. But I think it's the traditional martial arts that people are switching over from. And that might be a reason why we see such a great deal of Scandinavian fighters at the moment.
So when we spoke to Pani earlier on, she likened your style to Gunnar Nelson's.
Okay.
Is he a guy you look up to in like Joachim Hansen and Martin Kampmann?
Sorry, I can't. I thought I got the part with Gunnar, but what do you say with?
And Joachim Hansen and Martin Kampmann, are they the sort of guys you've been looking up to your whole career?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially Martin Kampmann. He's he's been the first Dane in and only Dane in UFC until now. So I've looked up to him quite a bit. We're very different style-wise as fighters, but I've always followed his fights since the Cage Warriors days.
Just speaking on Danish MMA.
Yeah.
What is the MMA scene like in Denmark?
Well, it's not that big. Before Cage Warriors announced they would be coming to Copenhagen, we only had like one pro promotion. We have quite a few amateur promotions, but promotions that deliver professional fights, we only had one. A couple of years back, we had two promotions that did pro fights, but one of them closed down, so that kind of put Danish MMA in an ice age of sorts, if that's an expression you can use. So right now there's only like one MMA news site. We have one podcast. It's very low key because the current promotion doesn't really sell their events that good, and they don't tell the fighters stories like Cage Warriors do, for example, with the documentaries.
Well, speaking of Cage Warriors, obviously Copenhagen. It's not too far away now, and you're going in against a very dangerous opponent. I think Serge is 12-1. I think you're undefeated. What do you know about this guy, and how have you prepared for him?
Well, he's 15-1. Well, I've obviously took a look on YouTube, found what videos I could find, took a look at his style watched the tapes with my coaches, and created a tactic out from what we can see is his strengths and his weaknesses. He seems to be very good at shooting in on people, for example. He seems very good at he's very fast on the feet, and he has a background in sambo and pancreation, so he's got a lot of experience.
How have you come across this type of sort of Eastern European fighter in your career so far?
I've fought a couple in my MMA career, and a lot when I used to do karate, and they just have it seems to me like they have a much harder mindset. They are much tougher. They don't quit until they are knocked out or submitted.
And in preparation for this fight, knowing that it's going to be at home, and obviously I suppose it's a great opportunity to highlight MMA in Denmark and in Copenhagen. Is that extra pressure on you coming into this fight, or again, do you have that Scandinavian attitude of it's part of what happens?
Well, yes and no. It is a great opportunity for me to highlight what Danish MMA is about and what kind of talent we have here in Denmark. But when I'm going into the fight on the night, that won't be in my head. Then it's just true love and the cage. But of course, leading up to the fight and all this stuff, I think I'm what do you say? I'm aware that this is a chance for me to display what Danish MMA is about.
The other thing, Cage Warriors seem to have a habit of losing their champions to perhaps the biggest promotion of all, UFC. While signing with Cage Warriors and fighting for them, does that play at the back of your mind as well, that this is a real bridge between European and global MMA?
Absolutely. I feel like this is a really big step for me because Cage Warriors is so internationally renowned as it is. So I feel like it's a huge step up. It's kind of unbelievable actually for me. It still hasn't really set into my mind that I'm fighting for Cage Warriors worldwide title.
Does it help that we keep reminding you that this is for the title and that it's in your own hometown, or would you prefer a stop?
I don't care. It's a part of the game. It's a part of doing this.
What can the fans expect to see stylistically from you? You say that you're an MMA fighter with a stand-up specialism. Are you going in looking? Are you looking for the knockout of the night, or will you just let it happen?
I never go into a fight and expect to get a knockout or a submission or a decision or whatever. I go in there with my tools. I go in there with my training, and I just try to deliver the best performance I can. And I think always that performance is then going to result in a win. But if it's going to be knockout, submission, whatever, I don't really. Of course, I want to get the awesome knockout, but it doesn't really matter to me in the end as long as I win.
Say it's funny you should say. We did some interviews this morning, and one of the questions that was asked is, would you rather, pardon my French, would you rather win a shitty fight or lose a fight that people will talk about for years?
Well, that's a question, because it's a difficult question, because you never want to lose. But if I were at a different point in my career where I had a lot of fights and I was like really had a lot of fights in the promotion I was in, maybe then I would say that I'd rather lose an entertaining fight than win a really boring one. But it's a difficult question, because I always want to win. So yeah, it's hard to choose. I don't think I can choose.
Obviously, 11-0 you are at the moment. Is there more pressure on you at being undefeated, or does that give you the confidence to know that more than likely you're going to win that fight?
Well, to me, it doesn't really change anything, because I am undefeated. I don't know how it feels to be to have a defeat. So for me, it's difficult to say if it would make anything different, because I can't know how it would feel not to be in the situation I am right now. So and honestly, it's just a number, really, to me. It's cool to be undefeated. It's pretty awesome, and it's great for getting fights like this, for example. But in the end, it doesn't matter when I'm standing in the cage with Churilov. Then it's just about who can win the fight. And then it doesn't matter if one guy has lost 5 fights or none fights, or whatever.
Cage Warriors have they have a really deep division in your weight class, and I'm not asking you to call anybody out, but who under their roster do you think would bring the best out of you? What kind of an opponent? I'm not looking past Cherlov, but who interests you in that division in terms of a skill set?
Well, obviously, the former champion Gary Guillemot could be an interesting opponent, and there's really lots of different fighters in the Cage Warriors welterweight division. So I haven't really set my eyes on anyone specific, because they all have different qualities. So I think either of the top guys in the welterweight division could be a great challenge.
And when it comes to walking out on the night, main event of Cage Warriors in your home country for the welterweight world title, are you expecting a massive crowd reaction?
Yeah, I really hope so. I do expect it. Yeah. Of course, I'm the hometown hero fighting the guy from abroad. So I think it's always going to be like that.
And what can the guys that's going to be there and the guys that are watching on MMA Junkie and stuff like that, what can they expect to see from you from that fight?
Well, this fight, I can't predict about it, so who knows, it might be a boring clinch fight. I don't think so, but I can't predict it. But usually when I fight, it's fast-paced action from the start to the finish.
Look, we really appreciate the fact that you give up some time again to speak with us for the first time. Before we let you go, in preparation for this camp, there must be people that you want to say thank you to, or sponsors that have helped you get where you want to get where you are. Would you like to thank or name anybody now?
Well, I can just really quick say thank you to all my coaches in Rumble Sports and all my training partners. Sorry.
That's awesome.
And of course all my sponsors. They're Danish based, so it's
feel free. We'll share it out. If you'd like to thank your Danish sponsors in Danish, this will go out as video. Please feel free.
Okay, cool. Jeg vil gerne sige tak til Adamsens Fisk for jeres støtte. Det har været super fedt. Tak til Fit for Fight. Tak til min nye sponsor Biohack. Og tak til alle de danske fans derude.
Well said. Well said.
And before you go, have you got any stories or anything that we can drop on Panny next time we speak her that might shock her?
Well, I was with her in Russia when she fought the last time as a coach, and I've got some pretty funny stories from there. I don't know if you want to have them now or later.
Yeah,
Well, we'll take one now. We're not recording at the moment, are we? Yeah, well, we're still recording, but we won't put it out there. Yeah, we take a story now.
Well, yeah, it was really a crazy trip over there. I think for the 3 nights I was out of the country, I slept maybe 10 hours total on that entire trip, and there were some issues traveling over there. So I think when it's not an embarrassing story. It's more about Penny and how cool she is.
Okay.
There were some on the way over there. Our flight from Moscow to Rostov got delayed for like 6 hours. We were flying from Copenhagen in 11 in the night, and landed in Moscow around 2 in the middle of the night, and then we had to get a connecting flight to Rostov at 4, I think. But that then got delayed for 5 or 6 hours, so we had to like sleep in the airport. And Penny was cutting weight, and hadn't eaten or drinking any water in 24 hours, so she was obviously exhausted. But and then when we came to Rostov, because we were late, the pickup that were planned for us at the airport didn't arrive until I think 2 hours after we landed. And then when we got to the hotel, there were some issues. I think the weight in Denmark was spot on, but when we got there to Russia, she was a bit over and stuff like that. So we had to like go to the sauna, cut weight, and they had this Russian guy they wanted with her in the sauna, like basking her with leaves and putting all wet stuff on the sauna stones. And so she hadn't like really slept properly and had to go through all this hell, but she still was like keeping her spirits high and went in there and fought the hometown hero and won. That was so incredible. She's so hot-headed. It's unbelievable.
All I know is she's got a handshake that would break Iron Man, because when I shook her hand last Saturday, I thought that I wouldn't be able to ride again. Unreal.
Yeah. It was unreal.
Nicholas, just one last question from me. The nickname Sharpshooter,
Bret Hart.
Is it a reference to Bret Hart? So a part of me sort of hopes it is. His old finishing move was a sharpshooter. Have you tapped anyone out with a sharpshooter?
Were you asking if it was a reference to Bret Hart?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not really. It was. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for the upcoming upcoming documentary Cage Warriors has been doing on me.
The Dimitri Marquez one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, in that video, my coach Tu Tranka, he explains how the sharpshooter name came about.
Okay.
Because he feels I'm so precise in what I do that I'm a sharpshooter. I'm like a laser beam, he says in the trailer video. So unfortunately, it's not a reference to Bret Hart, but it could be cool if it was.
Although I got to tell you, when your hand is raised in that cage, if you can go into "I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be," that'll make you'll learn 2 big fans here for sure, mate.
Cool. Nice.
It's been a pleasure meeting you. It seems that all of you listen to me. All of you Nordic fighters seem to have just the most laid back sort of mindset towards not only the game but the interviews as well. It's just, you can pick a Nordic fighter, I think, out of a lineup. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think because we train so much and we kind of, in a way, get our aggressions out in the gym, you can only be like relaxed, and maybe it's because we train so much that we're tired all the time, so we can't really get excited from stuff like this. You know what I mean?
I'm guessing the excitement will pick up next Saturday in Copenhagen.
Yeah. Are you going to be there?
We wish.
Wish we You're watching the event from the live stream?
All over MMA Junkie for sure.
Well, fingers crossed, when you're the welterweight champion, you'll be coming over to the UK. We cover most of the Cage Warriors events over here, so hopefully we'll get to meet in person.
I hope so.
From all of us, want to wish you best of luck for next Saturday, and thanks a lot for giving us your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, Nicholas.
Cheers.
Thank you.